In this video, we're going to be texturing a police flashlight. So this model is from the Substance website, so feel free to download that and follow along. Now in this case, we have baked it already, but it's not been vertex painted. So we're just going to stick with how it's set up already. So let's dive straight in. So firstly, we're going to search for metal, as we're going to do the base flashlight first. And I'm going to go with heavily worn here. So here you can see that's probably a bit too worn. So if we expand this again, and then we go down to the steel base. If we turn this down to maybe 30, I quite like that. It's still got that worn effect, but it's not over the top. Now, as you can see, since we're using this smart material, a lot of the work has been done for us already. You can see there's already quite a bit of edge wear, but let's add a few more sort of subtle details. So let's add some dirt first. So let's search smart masks here, and let's try splashes. I'm quite a big fan of that, so we will leave that as is, and then we'll just simply change the colour, maybe down to something a bit darker, just ever so subtle, like so. So you can just about see it. In fact, we might even want to make that a little bit lighter, like so. Yeah, I'm happy with that. Now we'll turn the roughness up a bit, and we'll turn the highness up ever so slightly. So I'm quite happy with that. One thing I might want to do is, I think you could potentially add more scratches. Let's have a look. Maybe we go with it, maybe we don't. Let's go with this one here. So that's a bit over the top, and we've already almost got that, as you can see. So let's not have that one. Let's try this one. So again, that's probably a bit too much. Let's try this one. If we don't like this, no we don't. So we'll leave that as is. Maybe we just add some dust on top. Just a very subtle change. Now I quite like this one, so let's change the colour. We'll change this to something like this so it looks a bit dirty. We'll get rid of that. Again, we'll bump up the roughness a bit. Now obviously this is a bit too strong, so what we'll do is we'll go to the mask and we'll tone this down a bit, maybe to something like 20. You can see this already looks quite a bit older now, so I'm quite happy with that. So we will leave that as is, but first, before we do so, let's just name this dust and we'll name this dirt, like so. Now next, let's go on to the button. So for the button, I'm thinking maybe we go for some sort of plastic here. So let's have a search, see what we can find. Go for plastic. Let's try this one. So you can see that gives us quite a sort of rubbery effect, but maybe we want something a bit more worn. So if we go for worn plastic, let's see what comes up here. Let's try that. So that's a lot better. So let's delete the other one. Now I'm not a big fan of the colour here, so let's change that. I'm thinking maybe more of a reddish colour, like so. Maybe something like that. Or you could just go for black. or maybe something slightly between the two, like so. I quite like that. I don't think much needs doing to that at all, so we'll leave that as is for now and maybe revisit that later. Now next, let's go with the glass. So if we search here, glass, and let's go with glass dirty here. So now we're going to want to change the opacity of our glass. So to do this, we're going to go up to the shader settings, and we're going to want to go to BBR Metal Rough with Alpha Blending. Now let's select that. We'll close that up. And now we're going to want to go to the texture set settings over here, and let's add an opacity channel. As you can see, that's already had some sort of an effect. So we'll go down to the base here, and here you can see there is opacity, so we can change that both ways. Now at the moment we're not seeing a massive difference because of all the dirt. So here you can see the interior of the glass. So I'm thinking maybe we stick with that for now, and let's just change the dirt mask, as that's way too much. Maybe something like that. Yeah, like so. Now I'm pretty happy with that, but I think one subtle difference we can do, just so it suits the rest of the torch a little bit more, is we can add some scratches. So if we go to smart masks, let's try subtle scratches. Now, I quite like that. Now in this case, I think we can probably just go with the height. Although let's have a play around. Yeah, I'm quite happy with that. Maybe we put it in just behind the dirt, like so. Maybe we just try that a little bit more subtle, like so. So I'm very happy with that, so we'll keep that as is. Now for the interior, we're going to keep this fairly basic, as you're not really going to see a lot of this. So on the inside of torches, this bit here is usually quite shiny, and this bit is usually a yellowy sort of colour. So if we just go for, let's see if we got some sort of foil, that could work quite nicely. And let's put the glass back on, just see what that looks like. Now, as we said, you're not really going to see a lot of this, so we might just stick with that. But let's have a play around. Let's see what this is like. Maybe we change this to more of a silvery colour, like so. Let's turn the roughness down and the metallic all the way up. Let's search for another metal. We'll just have a play around, maybe aluminium. So that's a lot better. I'm quite happy with that. So usually there's a bit more detail, but as you say, you're not going to see a lot of this, so we'll keep it quite simple for the sake of the tutorial. So next, let's go with a plastic, and I'm thinking maybe a plastic base, just like this. Now I'm quite happy with that, and let's just make it a very soft yellow, so maybe something like that. Now I'm quite happy with that. If we put the glass back on, we can have a look. Yep, I'm happy with that. Now what you could do to further this is you could make the torch emissive, so it looks like it's on. We won't cover that in this tutorial as I have another video covering that, so be sure to check that out. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out my other videos, and I will see you in the next one.